busy. I don't need a lot going on here, just some for me to talk on. So, where do I even start? November 15th, I believe. So, like, not that long ago, a handful of days ago, I finally ended contact with what I thought was my ex for the past 3 years. I was in a relationship with somebody that was completely fake the whole time, and I had no clue. I mean, I had my suspicions at the very beginning, and sometimes when the suspicion would rise back up, but they were not like a regular scammer. If you found your channel, I can already tell that your content is great. Love to stick with you long term if you're open to it. Willing to connect with you on Discord. Username is Samad. Thank you for the follow, JRNG. But for my own safety, I don't just randomly tell people's channel, or I don't reveal my Discord, and I don't have one set up yet either way. So maybe I should just put that in the chat rules. But I've had that asked one too many times by just random people that I don't know. And you know, if you stick around long enough, then yeah, I wouldn't mind. Eventually, I say this, but I haven't set it up yet. I'll be setting up a Discord for my channel. But where was I? So yeah, basically, I was fooled. I got baited hard for the past 3 years. You know, this was my first relationship, and it wasn't even real to begin with. And not only that, but, you know, I was just, like, first of all, like, back in September of this year, I became very suspicious because of the way they're acting, and they video called me, and the person in the video call was completely different than the photos that I had seen, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding. I was like, I've had my suspicion like this whole time, but that was when like my heart sank for the first time. But I still like wasn't sure. I was like, well, kinda looks like them, and they're just using a shitty camera, and it's hard to really tell, and both our phones are barely working, so it's whatever. We first ended the relationship on good terms. We're still talking, but things began to escalate pretty quickly after about a month and a half. So she would regularly ask for money. Let me just summarize, like, before I go all over the place here. I'm gonna start with the end and then begin. I'm gonna start with the end, do a little summarization, and then start from the beginning. I'm not gonna do like full detail, but I'll do kind of like a brief walkthrough of the entire relationship. That would be the main topic today. I really just want to get this off my chest. I'm having, you know, I want to stream. I've been trying to take time off to really let this sink in, and just so you know, I am getting help. So that's why I don't want to say too much. But what they did was completely fucked up. They are just a straight up, they're a scammer. They're a catfisher. They're a serial scammer and catfisher. I've seen what they do now. They go online on multiple social media platforms. A lot of dating apps. And what they do is just swipe right on everybody. They create a fake female profile, and everybody they match with, they'll message and try to sweet talk them. HBK. Hello, HBK, welcome to the channel. I'm going over what's going on right now. Eventually, if you guys miss what I'm talking about today, I'll be putting it up on YouTube. So, at least the VOD will be changed. Or saved. So, where was I? I can't remember. It's kind of hard to like keep it organized. I have a friend that's kind of like cataloging the whole thing, and they are helping me with some cyber stuff. So that's why I don't want to give out any specific names or locations or anything like that. But yeah, basically what they do is they'll use like all kinds of platforms, and they'll create a fake profile and match with as many people as possible, and then like sweet talk people, and then eventually try to make them give them money. And they're like, I hate to admit it, but they're kind of good at it. They found something that works and they're sticking with it, and this is like a kind of person that won't be stopped until they're stopped. Did you send money? A lot. I did. It was 3 years, and I would regularly send them money, so I lost quite a lot. Unfortunately. But, that's basically what they do. And I was just, another victim. So back in like 2022, I made well, yeah, hold on, let me just start with the end and then begin with the beginning. I'll summarize like how they do what they do. So basically they'll lure people away, talking to them, and then without ever seeing them. Yeah, I tried to meet them in person first, and we sent photos online. It's a bit of a story, but yeah. We even talked on the phone. They had like, it was all fake. So to start with the end, November 15th I stopped contact, and I was like basically saying like on my final words, and then that's when they tried to come after me. They straight up dropped the act and straight up tried blackmailing me, which is something that has happened to me before, like a few years before, like in 2020, 2019, but it never went through. Like I kind of knew that they were a scammer. I was messing around with them, so they didn't have any like information to actually do any damage, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But it reminded me of that scenario, but only this was like after 3 years of thinking that this person was my girlfriend. So it really like messed me up. So basically they immediately tried to blackmail me. I don't think they're going through with it, but we'll see. I have a lot of information. So that's what worries me. Is like I've given them a lot of information over the past 3 years, and I don't exactly know what they all have, so it does concern me. But judging just based off of what they do, they're probably too cocky to really follow through with it, and they're already busy like trying to scam as many people every day. Did all this without ever meeting them or doing something like FaceTime? Right. Yeah. I tried meeting them in person at the beginning, like I said. I'll be going through it here shortly. But, yeah. Basically, I did. So yeah, they tried Blackmailing me, sending explicit photos in the mail and whatnot. They're threatening all that kind of stuff, like compromising personal information and leaking it all online. So I told a friend about it, and they're getting some help just to be safe. But personally, I'm not sure if anything will happen. I don't think it will. Just based off of who they are. They just seem a little cocky in that regard. But that's how it ended. I stopped contact immediately after they sent that, and deleted all information from my phone except for like photos and whatnot. So, like I said, I'm getting help, so I can't really go into too much detail about that. So we'll just begin with how it all started. It was like 2022. I made a Tinder profile, and after like a week or two, I got a message on my Snapchat from this person who just started talking like any normal person would. They saw my profile, and I had my Snap linked to it, so they just brought that up and started talking to me on Snap. And basically, like, we started talking for a little while and got to know each other, and they're a pretty nice person. From it seems, it just feels sick like saying all this now. But that day, like, they made me try to meet them in person because they revealed that they're pretty close by, like 12 miles away, which is normal for like Tinder. It's usually like a local thing, unless you have your search radius like through the roof. I went for like less than an hour away, so it wasn't like totally out of the ballpark. But we started chatting, and she wanted to have me come over and have a little spicy time. And I was like, well, whatever, why not? So she had me go to the store and buy a Steam gift card and some condoms. And at first I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, this guy's a scammer. I knew like right off the bat too. And I thought about it for a while sitting in my car. Like, something just seems off about this. Like, that was obviously like something a scammer would say, but everything else just doesn't seem right. They seem genuine almost. And after like thinking about it and talking with them, they've eventually convinced me to go ahead with it. So I said, well, why not? I'll just put some faith into this person and give them a chance. They're the only girl that's ever given me a chance, so I'm not gonna blow it here. And that was kind of like my first mistake. I was in a desperate position when I put myself in a desperate position too. Well, I was desperate when I made that profile. So I knew that wasn't a good idea, and I knew that it was very likely somebody would come after me because it has happened before that. So I was immediately suspicious of anybody who would message me out of the blue like that. But I went ahead and went with it anyway, because I just wanted a relationship and I wanted to try my best to make it work. And so they invited me over to a home that was like 12 miles away on a road that I knew. And I sat outside there. They had me send them the code. Their plan, they were telling me, basically they were here. They're from Alabama, so they're living here temporarily with their father's side of the family, and they're babysitting this while they're here until they leave. And their family isn't there right now, but she's watching the toddler while they're gone. So the plan was to distract the toddler with some video games. So that's why they had me buy Steam cards, so that they can boot up a video game and have him distracted while I come in and get spicy. Pretty stupid idea. Pretty bold. I'm like, alright, this guy's kind of... At first I was like, she's kind of dumb. I'm like, if this person's real, they're kind of dumb. This isn't gonna work. Because they don't want the toddler to know, because the toddler will then tell the family, and she doesn't want the family to know. She just wants this to be, like, private, which is understandable. Usually I wouldn't go for this kind of thing. I'm like, really? This isn't really me, but I don't know. I was coming out of a very, like, shitty rut and depression and suicidal depression and all that, so I was a little bit more desperate than I thought I was. I wasn't sure if I was just being brave or just being stupid. But after a while sitting there, she had me go out and buy more cards. I'm like, well, this is awfully convenient. You're just gonna sit here and have me buy cards all day? But she convinced me that she needed more money to buy the game, and I'm like, well, that's understandable. Most games are like $60. $20 isn't gonna get you a game. So I went ahead and bought more cards. This process would repeat for like quite a while. I'd end up spending like $200 or more, because they just kept convincing me that they needed more money for the game. They had told me a specific name for the game. I looked up the game and it was $200. I was like, alright, well this game itself is a scam. Like, this is one of those, like, shitty, like, it's called Run Thief, I think. It's like one of those shitty games that you make on Steam that people will just scam people for. They'll just have them play like a really shitty game for like $200. And I was like, well, this kid's like 3 years old. He wouldn't know any better. Whatever. If he really wants to play the game, then I'll get it for him. And she kept explaining to me like she couldn't figure out how to boot up the game. And, you know, she just kept playing me. This person. I'm pretty sure they weren't even there to begin with. So that's what has me really messed up. They used just some random home nearby and made me believe that they were living there. So I eventually went home because they told me that this just isn't going to work out tonight, but we'll just have to wait another day. So we did that, and after about 2 weeks after that, she told me that she had to move back to Alabama, where she's originally from, and that we either got to make the decision to, you know, end this here or stick together in a long distance relationship and try to make it work. And I chose the latter. Told her I might as well just stick it through and make this work because I want this to work. And so we did. And not much really happened, like, occasionally, but other than that, it was a pretty, like, regular relationship on the surface, it seemed like. Like, it seemed like they really cared for me. They were always there when I really needed them, and they would actually try to talk things through with me and try to, like, make me feel better and be there when I was down and give me some advice. You know, like, I hope work wasn't too stressful. Telling them about, like, all these hobbies and whatnot, everything I do. So basically, like, they got pretty involved in my life. You know, like a real significant other would. And they had photos of me, explicit photos and whatnot. So I was regularly sending her money she would ask for Steam gift cards all the time, and I'm like, you know what, this really does feel like I'm being scammed at times. I'm like, who the heck only needs gift cards? But she explained that, like, her phone is messed up and she can't create a bank account with what she has right now, and she just needs money to help make that happen. Basically, like, every time she would ask for money, I didn't realize this, but they were just coming up with a fake reason and playing along with my story to, like, give me money. They, like, created their own story that they pretty much, like, live on their own back in Alabama. She lives with her mom, who isn't really home that often and forgets to feed her, and blah blah blah, like all that. And she lives a job where she can only afford the essentials but barely any food, so she often goes hungry and all that. So I tried to support her as best as I could, even though myself, going into the relationship, I had, like, no money to begin with. So they effectively, like, drained me of my money and left me with nothing throughout the entire relationship. And yeah, I would still try to provide for them, because, you know, I would if they were real. But, you know, there were times when we would argue. I'd be like, you're asking for money way too much. And it's like every week or every weekend, I gotta go out and buy cards for you, because they can only redeem cards and get money that way. Just, you know, manipulated me every step of the way. It's really messed up. So it's kind of hard to, like, remember all the details when you've been in a relationship for even just a few years, because a lot can happen in a year. But, you know, my suspicion would always kind of come up at least a couple times a year, and I would kind of ask myself if I wanted this relationship. But, you know, after like the first year, I didn't really think that they were trying to scam me or not. I thought that they were 100% genuine, but they were just not the smartest person in the world, and they were really in a shitty spot in life and needed some help. And I was the only one there really for them. Really fucked up. But that's what they had me believe. And I was in a pretty shitty spot myself. I still live with my parents, and I've been trying to move out. And I don't have enough money to move out. I've been trying to move out for years, and this has been, like, the first year where I've been, like, actually cracking down on everything and trying my hardest, doing all the research and looking at apartments, like, regularly, trying to move out, but I just can't make the money to make it happen. Just because of how expensive things are and inflation and all that, and I can't hold a job without stressing the fuck out, because I live in a very stressful environment and a toxic home. And speaking of which, you know, my mom told me today that I have until this weekend to move out, after getting into a little bit of an argument. So when it rains, it pours. For this relationship, though, I kept it from my parents after the first year, which leads me back to about a couple months after we talked. So she's, like, moved back, or they, I should just refer to them as they moved back where they were, and we continued talking for a while. And, you know, I explained to them my situation, my financial situation, and why it's difficult for me to be giving them money, and why I shouldn't be giving them money, and that they should be working towards it on their own. They should be putting in just as much effort as I am to keep themselves afloat. And in October of that year, you know, she told me that her dad does an online business and wanted to help out and kind of see if I can be trusted with their money. So they sent me a $2,500 check to my bank through the mail, mind you. And that kind of scares me, because they have my address. So they had me cash in that check to my bank and slowly pull money out to pay them back. Basically half of it was gonna go back to them, and then half of that half was gonna go to her, and then the other half was gonna go to me. So I would end up with like maybe $100, $200 just to see if I can be trusted with money. So I told them, why don't we like create a Cash App and I can just send the money through Cash App or whatnot, but they insisted on me buying cards. And it was real pain in the ass, because you can only buy 4 cards at a time. And this was like one of the first signs that I really should have picked up on, that this guy's just scamming me, because even the cash register asked me, like, who's making you buy all these cards? Like, are you buying this for yourself? Because this is a regular thing that happens. The stores have a law to prevent this kind of thing from happening, and you can only buy like 4 or 5 cards at a time, and that's like your limit. So I'd end up doing that until I get like halfway through giving them their money back, and I don't remember why, but this account, well, yeah, I don't know how, but my mom found out. She's very controlling and manipulative, my mother is, just so you know. And she used to be, she used to have an eye on my bank account like a hawk. She, like, co-created my bank account, so, like, her name was in it too, and her email was connected. So she would know if I bought like $1 of, like, if I bought like gum at the store, she would know. If I bought like a game, she would know and tear me a new one every time. She was up my ass about that all the time. So she's like, why is your bank charging you $2,500? And, you know, she was very pissed, understandably. And I told them what's going on. There's this girl that I'm talking to, and I've been talking to her for like a good few months now. And their father's just trying to help me financially, and they weren't having any of it, and I got a good stern talking to, which, you know, looking back on it, is understandable, but at the time I was totally convinced that this person was real, and it really pissed me off that my parents didn't understand. Because usually, you know, they're very single-minded and they don't trust anybody, and they like to have things their way, and their way only, and they're very traditional in what they do. So I just kind of like dealt with that for so many years that I just thought it was, you know, they didn't even give it a second thought, and I even showed them pictures and conversation and everything, and they were kind of convinced, but they weren't sure. Like, even they weren't like 100% sure if they were real or not. I showed them a photo. They're like, all right, well, just don't give them any more money. Just don't do that at all. You should probably stop talking with them. And really wanted me to stop talking with them. That was the last time I ever mentioned anything about the relationship to them, because I just wanted to keep it private. And whenever I'd mention it to my friends, they would all be very skeptical as well. And either that or they're like, I just don't do long distance relationships, man. They're not worth it. Like, well, I must do this. So I went ahead and eventually got my own bank. I did that because I just wanted separation from my parents. I don't know why I didn't have my own bank. I don't know, just like straight up like my own bank. Like I went to a completely separate bank and created a bank account just for me. And all my emails, I just wanted it to be completely separate. I'm like, I'm tired of them like watching everything I do and being up my ass about everything I do, and they completely smother me, and that's a whole other topic on its own. But it does kind of like come up a little bit in the relationship, and that's something I'm dealing with tonight. And there's a lot. I just needed to let some shit off my chest, man. I'm gonna keep focused and stay on one topic here, and that's the this fake relationship I was in. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm very worried. I'm under way too much stress. Have been for years. Tensions have been so high between me and my parents, and it's just a toxic environment here, and I just really hope I'm able to get out somehow. I've only got $20. It's gonna be a fucking miracle. I'm gonna have to find a landlord and beg. And like I said, I don't like being in a desperate situation, making decisions and doing things based on desperation, but isn't that what desperation is? When you're forced to make a choice when you don't have a better choice. When you're forced into a situation where you've got nothing, you know, you can't do anything else. So, I know that you shouldn't be searching for homes or trying to find a place to live when you're in a desperate position, because, you know, anybody can easily take advantage of you. But I don't know, I just hope I find a landlord or somebody who's willing to work with me here. I'll just have to be honest with them and tell them I don't have the money to move in right now, but if you give me a chance, that's all I need, is a goddamn chance. So that's the whole topic on its own. So we continue with the relationship for a good while, and like I said, not much details in the middle here, because there wasn't really any significant things to remember. So I could just talk about what it was like. You know, it felt real, like I was in a real relationship. And that's what's really messed up about this. You know, we would joke about our habits. We would just, you know, make fun of each other. I would occasionally like joke around telling her that I'm talking to another girl when I wasn't, just to like make her jealous for a second, because they know that I wouldn't do that. So, you know, we would just make fun of what we do, and she was there during some very heavy moments in my life. When my grandfather passed away, I keep saying she, but it's they. See, it has me fucked up. It really does. I don't trust anybody anymore. And I can't. I've been kicked down just been kicked while I've been down for way too long, and I just can't afford to trust anybody anymore. They were there for when my grandfather died, on my dad's side of the family. They're there from when my grandmother died on my dad's side of the family. So my grandfather on my mom's side, my grandmother on my dad's side when they passed away. You know, I showed them like pictures of the funeral and talked to them about that, and you know, they were there consoling me and helping me through it, and they were there for a wedding back in August earlier this year. My sister's wedding. I wanted to see photos, and I sent them photos. Because it's fucked up. I'm still processing this, and it's gonna take a long time to process this, but you know, I just wanted to at least get something off my chest tonight. I'll probably be making like a couple videos here, because this is a currently unfolding story that I want to share, and I hope whoever they are is brought to justice for, you know, I hope they pay for what they've done. They're a real fucking scumbag. They deserve to really suffer. Trying to remember like any other specific things. You know, like the details in the middle are blurry. So I'll kind of jump around. So during the summer, I started like having feelings like I just didn't want to be in a relationship with this person. Cause you know, despite like having it feel like a real relationship, if they were a real person, we didn't share pretty much anything in common. They hated the fact that I played video games, but they were supportive of it. I told them, you know, that I want to be a successful artist, and a streamer, and a content creator, and they would support it. And I would regularly like update my progress on like drawing and tell them when I'm streaming and whatnot. But they never watched my streams or my videos, and I was like, you know what? That's kind of weird. I mean, if I had a girlfriend who did something like that, I would totally watch what they did. Just at least once. To like be there to support them. I'd be kind of excited for them. But they just never did. They were never there. Oh, by the way, I had to turn my internet back on. Because when I got home from doing deliveries, my mother shut it off on me. So, that could happen at any time while I'm talking here. The video could just cut off randomly because she shuts the internet off on me. This is something I'm dealing with at friggin' 25 years old. And it sucks because at this point, I need the internet to do stuff. I need it to stream and work. Either way. So yeah, they were there during some, you know, low points in my life, and I would be there for them as well, you know. I'm trying to pull up, hold on, some information here on my phone. Let's see. So I was talking to a person about it the other day. Bitcoin. Yeah, when we first met, she said that she was like 20, so she was like 3 years younger than me when we met. We were always like 3 years apart, and now I see that they just shoot an age that's always like close to the person asking. So I'm actually reading what I wrote to my buddy the other day. I wanted to, like, before I started talking here, I actually wanted to like go and actually like write out some things that I want to talk about and information on my computer, but I've just been so busy with a lot of other things right now that just haven't really had the time. So here's like a little bit of information. I said, okay, but again, not much significant in the middle, just a regular relationship with us living out our lives, but I continue to try and support her while I can. Even though I was always low on money and absolutely struggled, she would be patient with me most of the time, and when she asked for money, it was usually between like $20 to $60. So, not too much. But for me, it was a lot, and it was really dragging me down because it was constant payment on top of everything I was already paying for in my life. In August of 23, I had a job working at FedEx warehouse. One of them, I do remember this. This was like last year. It's the only time I had a real job during the relationship. And she would ask for half the money I earned. And I would give it to her. She would, because she explained to me that she lived on her own. At this point, her mother had left her for another man. And her mother was kind of a shitty person and didn't really care about her. Didn't support her. So, she told me this like a year and a half ago, I want to say. Just randomly. At some point in the relationship, she revealed that she lives on her own, and I was like, really? You gotta be kidding me. How are you able to live on your own? Like, what are you doing for work? And how are you able to afford this? Because this is, we live in a day and age where living on your own is like very fucking stressful. And, the minimum wage ain't gonna fucking cut it. So it's like, what is this person doing to support themselves? And they told me that they are working, but it's only just enough to pay essentials. And so they'll often go low on food and like emergency stuff, like for when you get sick and you need medicine. She'll ask me for that. So often I would. So for me, I only made enough to pay my bills, which still hasn't changed, so I was always left with next to nothing. I eventually quit the job because I was under too much stress between trying to support her, trying to make enough money to move out of my home, and live the life I want, afford the things I want, and dealing with a toxic home environment. It was just all like just all adds up, and I eventually broke down and quit. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So naturally, that would strain our relationship over the years, but we would always talk through it and work things out, which would strengthen our bond. Always being patient with each other. She never really told me what job she had, only she had a small gig that didn't pay too much. She would need my support and would thank me for supporting her, and never bothered to ask her for money because I didn't like to do that, and I knew she probably didn't have anything to spare. She was there for me when I had death in the family and mental breakdowns, and supported me during her, and did her best to tell me to not bring myself down and all that, and feeling sorry for what I was going through, and I believed everything she told me. Another thing I wrote was that I remember one time after I called each other. She asked for money before we hung up. Had no suspicion for a while until 2024 when I started to ask myself if I wanted to keep going with this relationship. And in my head I said no, because this person is just leeching off of me at this point. They're not learning how to be independent, and they're just being bratty and stupid about their decisions, and we don't have anything in common, so I'm like, this person's just kind of shitty, I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to be with this person anymore, and it feels wrong to break their heart. That's why it was kind of a harsh breakup for me, because I didn't want to do it, but I know I had to. I wrote, we never really had much in common at all. She never really liked the fact that I played video games and told me I wasn't normal. But she would do that kind of jokingly. I need to say they. Like I said, it's messed up. I would put up with... She would put up with me nonetheless. Felt like the only thing we had going was the fact that we wanted a relationship. So we tried our best to make it happen, and there was very little chemistry outside that. She didn't talk much about her life, and I wouldn't think much of it because she would rather keep that to herself. Conversations were dry most of the time, with me trying to come up with something to say. Oh, when I got horny and flirty and whatnot. She wouldn't really return that energy back. I only had like a few photos. And I never got any nudes, by the way. Not that it really matters, but I think it should. For like a young, horny adult. You know. People have needs. It's not like dudes think about sex all the time, but, you know. There's gotta be something spicy going on in the relationship, at least for me. But yeah, they never returned that energy back. Left me hanging most of the time. It felt like there wasn't much flair outside the honeymoon phase, which I know is relatively normal for relationships. But she would never ask me for nudes or flirt. So over time I wouldn't bother. I would just stop asking, and the relationship would dull over time. Another thing I wrote was that I felt like it wasn't going anywhere. She wasn't the person I thought she was going to be when we first met. I started questioning the relationship more and more as time went on, and found myself not wanting the relationship anymore. We didn't have much in common. She would support what I did, but not much. And I felt like she was more interested in my money than anything else. Although she would ask for pictures, like when I went to a wedding and like family gatherings and important stuff during my life and all that. Let's see if there's anything else I wrote down. Right. Yeah, this was a weird thing. So, like, when I broke up with her, this was like the same night. This was totally fake now that I look back at it. They showed me a picture showing that they just inherited $800,000 from their mother. And I was like, well, that's good for you. You can use that money to, you know, actually like live on your own and do what you want to do, but that money's not for me. And she was saying that she was using that, or they were using that as like a ploy to keep me in the relationship. Because our whole goal the entire time was to meet each other. I never had the money to like buy her a flight. She'd always ask me to do that though, which I thought was wrong. I'm like, you need to be responsible and buy your own ticket, and I need to buy my own ticket, and we can either meet in your state, we can either meet where you live, or you can meet where I live, or we can just meet in the middle. We could just do like a trip. I even like calculated how much it would take to drive my car down to Alabama, visit for like a week and come back. And it would be like $500-600 or something. Which is a lot of money for me. I'm glad it never happened. Because I would have just been... That would have sucked. Because I know they would have just done the same and had me go to a fake home. With nobody really there. And then just come up with a reason as to why they can't see me. I'm very tired tonight too, so I didn't get much sleep before my dad came bursting in the door yelling at me. Can't believe this happened. This is another thing I wrote down. Again though, I can't believe this happened. They played the part of being a girlfriend real well. We said good night and good morning every day and every night. We would jokingly pick on each other's habits, help each other through hard times. She was the person I trusted wholeheartedly, and I would vent whenever I needed. And she would actually give me good advice and help me calm down when I needed it most. And that hurts, knowing that it was all a lie. Still a bit more to talk about, like when her dad tried to give me a check. Right. Yep. That was the only day they brought up an inheritance thing. And you know what's fucked up is that they showed me that and they still kept asking me for money. And I was like, well, maybe it just takes a while to get inheritance. I was like, it probably takes like, you know, because I know like, just based off of like having deaths in the family, it takes a long time for like the will to go through and to like have the possessions of the person passed away transfer to somebody else and all that. That does take time. So I was wondering if like inheritance was like very similar. So I never really thought anything of it. I was like, well, that's good. It's nice that, you know, her mom had a change of heart and actually like it gave her $800,000 inheritance. What was I thinking? I was like, wow, that's a lot of fucking money. That's like almost $1 million. Man, am I stupid. I'm not dumb, I was just brainwashed and desperate. Right, when they called me on the phone for the first time, their voice was very weird. It was like a very like thick city accent, but it was also kind of like a North Alabama accent. They had like kind of choppy English. Like you can tell that they spoke English, but it was like got some heavy tang to it. I don't know how to explain it. Like I've heard some city people talk like that sometimes. I can't even like recreate it if I tried, because I only talked to her like twice. And the second time was more recent, and I think it was the same person. So that's what crazy is like. That's why I think like it might be more than one person pulling the strings here. I think there's like a female and a male couple going on. Because they're doing a lot. So another thing that they had me do. So they met me on Snapchat and then they moved me over to a messaging app called Zangy that I've never heard before. And apparently, you know, a lot of people haven't heard before either. So, wow, what do you know? It's like a private messaging app. So we talked on there for most of our relationship. The first year was like on Snapchat. But another thing they had me do was create a Cash App And this is when things get a little interesting. This is why I think there's a lot going on here. Basically, that's why I want to be very brief with this, because I don't want to reveal too much detail. As I said, I don't know who's got eyes on me right now. I don't know how meticulous this person is and how willing they are to take me down. But they would have me transfer money on Cash App. So basically, like, I was a middleman. And I would never receive money myself. Like, I would never end up with any in my pocket. And so basically, like, they would have me request money from an account. And then I would receive that money and then send it to a different account. Or vice versa. So I would, like, send money to an account, and then they would, like, send it to another account, and it just became, like, all over the place. So they had me do that for most of the relationship, along with occasionally buying cards. So that's why I was like, why don't we just use Cash App? And they would always explain to me, like, this isn't their account. They can't create a Cash App, but they can use one of their friends' accounts and just have the money sent to their friend, and then their friend would send them money, like, either through the mail or something like that to them. So, because they weren't able to create one themselves, they had to go through, like, a couple people. Totally doesn't make sense to me. It seems like, you know, they used me as, like, a middleman on this, like, online Cash App crypto scam shit that they had going on. And another thing, like, it wasn't even just cash, it was also Bitcoin that they would have me send to accounts. So I was like, why the heck are you using Bitcoin? Bitcoin sucks. Bitcoin's for idiots and scammers. And maybe the 1% who actually got lucky and made a good profit off of it. Like, but they explained to me, you know, they did a bunch of research into it. And I did some research myself. I'm like, alright, I'm going to trust you with this. This is your domain. I don't really know much about it, but I did a little bit of research, so I'm not clueless. So it was a little bit complicated in how prices fluctuate and how to actually make money off of it. So I just said, this is all up to you. I trust that you're making the right decisions here, so. That was another thing I would regularly do. I'm tired. Sorry if my voice just sounds weird. Because I'm talking through a headset and I'm tired and stressed and need to poop. I need to poop, I need to cry. I haven't even cried yet, that's the fucked up part. It's like, I want to, but I can't. I just feel like my emotions are dulled. I have been like that for a while, but it's just because I've been through so many things and haven't been able to, like, feel emotion in a long time. I just feel dull. So, I'd say that's pretty much most of the information I want to reveal right now. I want to be a little bit careful here, but if there's anything I'd have to say is, like, you know, I really hope they deserve what's coming. They're a real piece of shit, and I'm just one of many of their victims. I don't know how far this goes, and they were quick to throw me away to the wind and try to blackmail me at the end. They were a real piece of shit, extremely manipulative, and they're just one fucked up individual that deserves sympathy. You know, I'm a very forgiving person, and I believe just about everybody can be forgiven until they can't be forgiven. And I really didn't deserve this after everything I've been through in my life and I'm currently going through. You know, this was like the last thing I deserved. It's really fucked up. So I hope karma does its thing. And I'm not gonna lie, it has me fucked up when it comes to relationships. Every woman I've tried to get with now has manipulated me in some way. And, you know, none of them were real to even begin with. And every one of the girls that I tried to talk with that were real shot me down, so... Not a lot of luck when it comes to that kind of stuff. Even though I really wanted it badly, and now I just can't bring myself to trust people anymore, especially online. I've just been manipulated, even by my own mother, too many times to the point where I just don't know when somebody's telling the truth or not anymore. I live truthfully and honestly, but I was surrounded by people who lie and manipulate. Mostly not for bad intentions. You know, I'm talking about like my parents here. It's just who they are. But you know what, they're not exactly saints themselves. Nobody really is, but I mean, it's a whole topic on its own. Like I said, maybe I'll talk about it one day when it's all over and I'm finally on my own. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. I might end up fucking homeless here in a week. I just don't know what to think. I feel dull, like I said. Like I've been through so much that I can't feel anything anymore. Also, I think dating apps should just be completely removed from existence. I understand that there are people that have met the right person and had relationships and good experiences, but it's just too dangerous and predatory. Not only from the companies that make these dating apps, but from the people that use them. Like, when I used Tinder when I was in high school, you had, like, you can you can, like, chat with people and whatnot. You can pretty much do whatever you want, and there was, like, a paid version that just gave you some more, things to do. Like, you got, I don't even remember there being a limit on likes. It was just like a lot, you could do a lot, and now it's like, back in 2022 when I created it, it was like you had to pay for everything. All of a sudden you've got like a limited amount of likes, and then you're hit with an ad like every fucking like 5 people, and it tells you to buy Tinder Premium, buy Tinder Plus, get infinite likes, see who likes you. I'm like, bro, you should see who likes you in the first place. You can't even talk to somebody unless they match with you. It's so fucked up. And they make you try to pay for everything. The company itself is a real fucking piece of shit. And they should just be taken down. They're just predatorizing and trying to take advantage of desperate, lonely people. Mainly men. Men are like, they're probably like 99% of the victims on these apps. Like, you don't, You know, girls don't trust anybody anyway. They're already suspicious of you, or they've got ridiculous standards. So when you first start talking to them and they're like, yeah, are 6 inches, 6 feet, 6 figures? Well, I'm not gonna talk to you. I mean, I know that's like a stereotype, but not every girl's like that, but damn, it feels like 90% of them are on these apps. You know, normies are just ridiculous. But on the other hand, you got all these like men who are looking for a legitimate relationship, or they're just looking for a one-night stand, and a lot of them are lonely and desperate, and they've never felt the touch of a woman, or it's a whole like situation on its own. But I feel like men are like 99% of the victims on these apps, because it's just so easy to make a fake female account and catfish people. It's just so easy. It's like a breeding ground for these scumbags. And these apps just allow that to happen. They provide a space for that to happen in the first place. And that's why I think it should just be removed. Dating app should just not be allowed. I think that'll be it for me for now. I just wanted to get some things off my chest. And like I said, the situation is unfolding here. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated. I'll be making videos as we go, but it's gonna be like an ongoing thing, I think, for a little while. And then the whole situation with my family and finding an own home is a whole separate thing, so I don't know if I'll be making a separate video about that or not. Only because I don't know. Just don't really feel like it. I've talked about it enough. And it's been way overdue for me to move out of here, but with how inflated prices are, and you know, inflation has really crushed me, and it has effectively preventing me from doing anything I want, from moving out and enjoying life to chasing my dreams. It's prevented me from doing any of that. And I don't know what to do anymore. I've worked myself to death over 6 to 7 different jobs since like 2017, and I just can't do that anymore. I don't have the energy, and I don't have the hope. That's another thing, is like I just don't have hope anymore. That's why I need something big to go right. That'll like give me a little hope. Maybe believe that, you know, all my effort isn't for nothing. You know, like I said, my main things I want to do is to just live on my own, go to college, go to some kind of art education. If I can't go to college, I'll find some other way. There's plenty of online courses. I don't have to go to college for art, but I would like to, just to have that experience and to open my horizons and see what I can learn. But, you know, we live in a day and age where going to college is a luxury, not really a necessity. You know, again, like, it's a whole topic on its own. You know, college is fucking outrageously expensive. So it's kind of like a gamble. And it is a little bit predatory. Trying to, you know, we built a society where we try to get people straight out of high school into college when they're still, like, developing young adults. Where they don't even really have a full understanding of life, and you know, until you're like 20, 21, 22, I think that's when you should probably start going to college. On average, everybody's different. Everybody develops in a different way, but at least by then you've had like a little bit of life experience and you're a little bit smarter and your head is a little bit more straight. Whereas like going straight out of high school, you're still in like that high schooler mode. And you're probably not going to be all there. You're just going for the experience. And you know, we can't really do that anymore. You can't really go to college for the college experience. You gotta go there for the degree, and you gotta be thinking about return of investment, and you gotta really be locked in. So for me, it's a luxury that I have questioned if I want to pursue it or not. So I'm not gonna be heartbroken if I can't. But I think it would. You know, it would just make me happy if I were to be able to go. It'd at least be something going right in my life. Try to think of anything else before I'm done here. I think that's about it. Stay safe. Cybersecurity is no joke. We live in a day and age where it is important to keep up with technology and with the way things are advancing. I think having the more knowledge, the better. And if you use the internet at all, I would learn how to safely use it first before anything else. Safety is the most important thing on the internet. And, you know, scammers and more macabre individuals have more tools, and it's easier for them than ever before to take advantage of anybody, whether it be hacking into a major company and holding their data for ransom, or just catfishing some lonely guy on Tinder and having them spend money on them. There's it's a sad thing to think about, but there's also an equal amount of people, I'd say, who are very highly skilled and doing their best to bring justice to people that abuse these kinds of systems. You know, cyber criminals and cyber police, baby. Living in the future. Alright, I think that'll be it for me. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you have anything to say in the comments, let me know. If you've been through any similar experiences, or you know, just be respectful too. Don't try to like send me to like a programmer or like a cybersecurity company to get help. I've already had that happen to me on Twitter. I think I said something on Twitter that like activated like the sleeper agents. A bunch of bots on Twitter were like, I made a tweet about what happened to me, and like I'm pretty sure like every comment was a bot, because they were all like just a picture of like a dude or something. Like they literally looked like Facebook profiles, and they were saying things like, "Damn, scammed again. Tough it up. The world is cruel. If you need help, visit I don't know, cybersupercops.com or something like that. Something like that." I'm like, what is this? I've never had this many like interactions on a tweet before, and like, pretty sure they're all bots. And I said a trigger word, and they were all like sleeper agents that got activated by a trigger word. So I just thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, really? But hopefully I'm not homeless next week. I know I'm laughing right now, but you know, it just feels good to get a little bit off my chest and make a bit of a video on it, because I really do need to talk about this, and I would like to keep things fairly transparent with my community and as a growing content creator. I really appreciate any advice. I'm very limited with what I can do right now, so I really appreciate it. That'll be it for me today. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.